episode of Arbitration Life. I am Janette Brin.
And I'm Hana Doumal.
The increasing use of tribunal secretaries is said to be a response to the growing complexity of international arbitration. Tribunal secretaries, though not a part of the arbitral tribunal, provide support to all stages, contributing to the efficiency, reduction in cost, and time of proceedings.
Absolutely, Janette. And in the new 2021 BVI-IAC arbitration rules, Appendix 3 defines the role, the duties, and the functions of tribunal secretaries. And very recently, the BVI-IAC organized a two-day tribunal secretary training together with CADRIN, the Caribbean ADR initiative, at the end of May this year.
Our guest today has acted as tribunal secretary in a number of cases and was a guest lecturer during the recent tribunal secretary training with CADRIN. She has also acted as arbitrator and counsel in arbitrations conducted under various rules and related to a variety of industries. She practices international arbitration, covering both investment and commercial arbitration, and has developed particular expertise in energy-related disputes arising out of both short and long-term supply agreements.
She is a French-trained lawyer registered with the Paris Bar and a Swiss national with Vietnamese roots. She's a member of the BVI-IAC Arbitration Committee, a former co-chair of Young ICA, the young branch of the International Council for Commercial Arbitration. She's also a member of the Executive Committee of the Rising Arbitrators Initiative and a co-founder of the Geneva chapter of energy-related arbitration practitioners. She's consistently listed among the Who's Who Arbitration Future Leaders ranking since 2019, and she was selected as one of the 13 most highly regarded practitioners for the EMEA region as a non-partner category in 2022. Please welcome Nhu-Hoang Tran Thang. Hi, Juan. Welcome to Arbitration Life. How are you?
Good. Hi, Anna. Hi, Janette. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So how are things in Geneva?
They're good. It's been very hot here, unlike usual. So we're enjoying an early summer here.
Oh, wow.
Nice. It's hot here too.
It is hot. It is humid and yeah, have very difficult problems. Like the sun is burning our feet, basically. That's the main issue right now.
So I'm going to go ahead and get us started, Juan. What inspired you to pursue a career in arbitration?
Well, it's pretty easy to pinpoint for me because I think those were classes related to arbitration that I took back in 2004, 2005. And when I took these classes, it was at the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies in Geneva. I was not in law school. I was an undergrad student in international relations. So it was pluridisciplinary, and we were doing law, economics, politics, and history, and all in international relations. And in the fourth grade, we got to choose classes a bit more freely. And then, bam, I took these two classes in my last year. And it was like someone switched on the light. And these someones were my two teachers. So those were Professor Jean-Michel Jacquet, and I took the class on state contract, and Professor Brigitte Stern, who taught me the resolution of international economic disputes. So we did all the basics from SPP versus Egypt to Clarkner versus Cameroon, all these case law, and they had the inspiring stories and they were enlightening. And after I took their classes, basically I embarked on a whole new set of studies. It actually doubled the time I spent on the faculty benches, but it was great. It made me very happy. So I have to thank them for how they changed my life, and I take the opportunity to give a kudos to all the great, inspiring teachers, because I think they have changed the life of many students, the great ones, like the ones I mentioned. So kudos to all of them.
I absolutely love that story. It's always nice when you can reflect on someone who had a positive impact in your life, especially a professor or a teacher.
Absolutely. Yeah, kudos to all the professors. And this is a special one for me too, actually. But I think I told you the story one.
Yes.
In Madrid, when I did my Erasmus and when I met my professor of private international law, Juan Carlos Fernandez Rosas, and he's the one who inspired me to start arbitration. So I think we all have that, and that's very beneficial. And I hope many more will get inspired by great professors. So now, let me ask you, what do you enjoy most about working in arbitration?
This one is much more difficult because, you look at the present and it's difficult to take distance from what you're doing, just doing it. But if I think hard, I think this is the fact that it keeps us being eternal students, because you learn a law, but it changes dramatically. You learn an industry, the landscape of an industry, but it changes dramatically. Like, for instance, I don't know if it was a choice, but I do a lot of energy arbitration, but it changes so much. I mean, the way we practice today and the cases we will be working on in 10 years is going to change dramatically. And you also discover new industries, new procedural situations all the time. And also you learn about history and politics and the background of relations between two states, for instance, every time you work on a new case. So it's very enriching, it's ever-changing. So I think it's the main reason. And then there are the other delights of arbitration life, which are like the traveling to glamorous places and meeting.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the show. The delights of arbitration life. I was like, oh, our show, really?
No, but it's a good title that you have, because I mean, I think we are privileged, to I mean, we have colleagues from sales and other departments who, when they travel, they go to remote places in suburb areas of remote cities, and we go to all the capitals of the world, meeting with great colleagues, and really like the cross-cultural environment is something I've always loved, because every time you enter the hearing room, which is not very often when you do arbitration, but when you enter the hearing room, you have to expect that your opponent, the arbitral tribunals, other participants will have different reactions than you, different references than you. So it's always challenging you. And I think it forces us to open-mind us. And it's the same in the context of global networking, as you say. It's a big, small world, and I feel, about me, I love it. I feel comfortable in it, but I think also generally it forces us to open-mind us.
Thank you so much, Juan. It's so true. Yeah. Last year, BVI Arbitration Week was named a little big world.
Right.
So very much so, and it's so true, everything you say about like just visiting all the hubs. Like I think we're very, very fortunate, and hopefully you also get to come to the BVI. So yeah, yes. We do arbitration in the Caribbean. Yeah. So
it's marked down. The BVI Arbitration Week of 2023 is marked down in my agenda.
Amazing. Very good.
So Juan, you have acted as arbitrator, counsel, and tribunal secretary. What would you say makes an arbitrator a good one?
Well, I think if we start from the premise that an arbitrator has to be competent, acknowledgeable in the field, in the industry, but also independent, impartial, I mean, all these basic requirements, I think then it depends a bit on your role, because then you mandate varies slightly, whether you're a sole arbitrator, whether you're president or co-arbitrator. I would say that when you're a sole arbitrator, you also sometimes have to take the role of guiding the parties, explaining the process and have them understand so that they accept the solution also. And I'm thinking in particular about the smaller cases, in which you may have parties who are not represented, or parties who are represented by lawyers not familiar with arbitration. And there's a process of, making them understand what's going on. As a president, you have to be a bit of a mediator, sometimes between your two co-arbitrators. So you have to be patient, you have to have authority and confidence. So I think you have to be quite solid. And in the very high stakes cases, it's good, I think, when you have accumulated quite a lot of experience, because you may face difficult situations sometimes. And as a co-arbitrator, well, I think this is an art to enter the deliberation rooms and like if you want, like take the best of the party's position, you know, and we argue it, maybe sometimes we formulate it and seek clarification on it to convince also your co-arbitrators. But you have to do it insofar as the position of the party, I mean, your party, the party who appointed you, is convincing to you, because you have to remain credible also in the long term.
Yeah, a lot of good qualities.
Yes.
Now, having had the role of tribunal secretary, why would you encourage young lawyers to familiarize themselves with such role?
Well, first, I think that if you are from the BVI, I understand that there is also a need of, you know, trained secretaries as part of the capacity building and preparation of the ramp up of arbitration, and in particular international arbitration in the BVI. So I think it's very important for this, you know, as part of building the, you know, the capacity there. But also, this is the best arbitration school you can find. You know, I would really advise working for arbitrators as much as you can, in the sense that if you are in a firm where you do counsel work, seek opportunities to also act as a secretary if some of the partners are acting as arbitrators, because you really have more perspective. And also, if you happen to have an opportunity to work for a few years, for instance, solely with an arbitrator, which I did, you know, I worked 4 years with an arbitrator. It's very good because you see a lot more than what you would see in the same span of time as counsel, because your involvement is not the same as when you were counsel. So in terms of time, you can see many more things. For instance, when I was with Pierre Tercier, I was overviewing a bit, like I had an overview of everything that was going on in his cases. So you go to a lot more hearings, you see a lot more. It really teaches you a lot, even if passively, you know. And then, but then I would not advise staying too long with an arbitrator if you want to go back to counsel work. This is something that has to be put out there. If you stay too long, you will have difficulties catching up with learning the skills for counsel work, which are, you know, not pure law, like the administrative part of our job, you know, dealing with the clients, you know, preparing budgets and so on. And finally, I think also we see now that working as secretary in arbitrators' boutiques is becoming slowly to become a career path towards becoming an arbitrator on its own, because people from my generation actually who started like 10 years ago as secretaries, some of them have managed to actually go directly to being arbitrators, independent arbitrators, not going through the whole, not going to big law, not going to counsel work.
Very true. That's the perfect transition. I know my question comes later. Sorry, Janette, it's your turn.
Well, absolutely great advice. I just want to add that. But one, I would also like to ask you, what difficulties have you faced in your career and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think well, many really. It's sometimes a bumpy road, you know. It's a competitive career as well. But if I look overall, you know, trying to look over the first 10 years, I think I would say it was the start. Really, it was getting my foot into the door, but also actually entering it, because even after the internships, then you have to find your first associate position. And really, it was 2011. I had my qualification. I was just finishing my internship at Freshfields Paris, so it was great, you know, but it was also really not in the middle, but really like the close follow-up of the crisis, and the market was pretty depressed. So I was applying everywhere, speaking to headhunters, which is not very useful at this stage of your career. And I was younger, I wasn't confident. I needed to start working ASAP as well. And I must thank my family for the financial support for the several months that I spent looking for my first associate position after I qualified in France. And I adapted a lot, and I considered with much deception other paths. I was like, maybe I will not do arbitration, but really I had, as I explained, I had started a whole new set of studies for that, and I was passionate. So I persisted, and this is really it. It's just I persisted. Again, I must thank my family for the support, but I managed to get an associate position. It didn't end there because after a year, I thought it was necessary to move on, and I embarked on a new internship in very pricey London for 7 months. And this is only when I came back without a job still that my luck turned around, and I started to work for Pierre Tercier, my then NhuHoang mentor, because the opportunity arose. I mean, he had a need. So the message is, I guess, be persistent, because if this is really what you want to do, you cannot be always unlucky. Sometimes I missed jobs, being like the second candidate, and I knew it, and I was really disappointed. But really, sometimes your luck is going to be here, because there's a bit of luck in the whole game as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, to be so real about it. And I think it has been like this for all of us. I remember when I applied for the first associate position and sending so many emails and cover letters, and I was able to find it just after I qualified, and that was great. But we were all doubting very much when we started. So yeah, to persist is, I think, really the best advice. Now, and that was transition to the previous question. Could you please tell us one about your first appointment as an arbitrator?
Yes, so it was pretty early, I must say, in the sense that I was maybe in my fourth or fifth post-qualified year of experience. I was probably about 35, something like this. And I got appointed by the co-arbitrators as a president. So I knew exactly that it came from one of the co-arbitrators who had also worked for the same arbitrator as me. So she knew what I was capable to do, that I would be like, operational as a young arbitrator, knowing how to start the proceedings and so on. And the amount was ridiculously low. And I don't know whether they would have found someone else, accepting this kind of mandates. So I think this is how I got it, otherwise it was uneventful, this first case. So, but this is how I got appointed the first time.
Uneventful, really? Bless you. Uneventful, really?
Yes, that first one is kind of because it was default proceedings, and it was this case, so you are the one requesting the parties to to provide the advance and receiving the advance and so on. So I basically spent my time sending double DHLs to 2 addresses in the very remote part of the country to make sure that they were notified, because this was my first. I mean, this was the only thing that matters, actually, because they were defaulting. And then at some point, the claiming party refused to pay a further advance on cost, and they withdrew their claims. So they withdrew their claims. So we didn't proceed, So then I had other chances, to go through the process. So, but I had, you asked me about my first case, so that was the first one.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing.
Interesting indeed. Can you also share with us an experience that has been most impactful in your career?
Well, this one is also very difficult, because I think that every place we worked at was very impactful. I mean, every single place I worked at changed my life, my career, at least in a way. This is, I think, how we build, those are little bricks that build our competence and the type of lawyers we become. But if I look overall, so, to look at it differently, and taking it as a whole, today, I think that reflecting what has been very impactful in my career is actually my involvement in business development activities, and in particular, the time I spent at NhuHoang. NhuHoang is the young branch of the International Council for Commercial Arbitration. And it was really like, I started as an event coordinator, and then I ended up being co-chair for 2 years. this is really something that changed a lot, like my network, my experience also, in the sense that it was a bit like political affairs, you know. Sometimes, you know, you had to deal with a partnership somewhere that didn't go well, or some members of the team in another complete another place of the world was complaining about something else. So it was, you know, because we were organizing a lot of events, but we were also, you know, liaising with the ICA board, you know, on other matters. And it got me connected to so many important persons and projects throughout the world that really changed my network, my experience, and also my knowledge, because I got to work and collaborate with so many lawyers in other places. You know, I was not always going to the events, but I organized events in, I don't know, Brazil, Asia, Korea, Vietnam. It's all started with Vietnam, I must say, because they came to me actually saying like, oh, you always come at Yongika events. We want to do something in Vietnam. So do you want to help us? And I joined them this way. And also, actually, as part of this, I got to organize these events in Vietnam. And now I get to, now I know the whole arbitration community there, because because over the years I did 2 of them, and I collaborated with them. So really, I mean, we cannot underestimate, you know, it's not work per se, but it has been impactful in my career for sure. I see it now today, really.
Yeah, I can certainly appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much.
And now, what would you say is the best advice that you have ever received in your career? And also, what other advice would you share with young lawyers who want to pursue a career in arbitration?
Well, the best advice I received about career was really, you know, do what you love, because going to work every day is already a pain. So if you don't love what you do, it's like really worse. So if you have the chance to choose what you do what you love. So I think it's relevant in the context of, you know, being persistent, you know, if the start is difficult. And then an advice that I would give to young lawyers who want to pursue a career in arbitration, I would say, like, again, persistence, but also to be practical, like pass your bar as soon as possible, you know, to make sure that you qualify in one place, because I see a lot of young lawyers who have done internships in Paris and London and so on, but, you know, they left their country, their jurisdiction before they qualified, and then they're stuck because they could be hired as associate, but they usually, you know, like most of the firms, they require that you qualified, you know, somewhere. And I would say also be a good lawyer in your jurisdiction, or at least in one legal system. And I hate to say it, because this is something I've heard and over again when I was younger, and I was like, really, I'm an international lawyer, I don't really care, you know. But it is true that at the end of the day, you know, when you get to analyze more and more complex issues, you have to be solid on your foundation. So at the end, I agree with this general advice. And otherwise, work a lot, be resilient, you know, when there are periods of difficulties. Again, if you want to be persistent, it means sometimes you will be broke for a while because you're an intern in a very pricey city, that you will be in a place where you think you would deserve more consideration, but it's not here. So you work on your next steps, but you also have to be a bit resilient. And otherwise, it's an advice that I think we give all of us always to the young people, but really it's true. So I will repeat it: network, network, network. Really, network internally with your colleagues, externally. Go to conferences as much as you can, because I also see some colleagues who wake up too late, you know, and they've been working a lot, being very loyal in a place for 10 years, but then, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, you know, at that firm with that boss, you know. So you also have to work for yourself in this career.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Market yourself, network, obviously. Get mentors too. You mentioned that a bit earlier, that Pierre Tercé was your Yongika mentor. So
yes, and nowadays, I mean, there are more and more programs of mentoring, and I mean, really go ahead, take the opportunities. There are so many initiatives out there, and you know, if you don't take them, you know, others will, and you won't have that experience that they do.
So true. Thank you so much, Juan. And now,
so, you know, I've been dying to ask you. I'm just sitting here waiting for the opportunity to ask you. you're such a successful arbitrator, career woman. What is a theme song, if you will, that gets you through your day to help motivate you?
But that is easy because I think I can say that I'm able to say what is my favorite song ever, and I think it's not gonna change. Maybe it's gonna change. But so it's I think yes, it's Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and it's Nothing But a J Thing. So yeah, revelation. But this is really like my favorite song ever. So it definitely gets me going every time.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, that's answer. I love how you like, oh, that's easy. I have a favorite song.
I love it. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thanks to you, and thanks for the invitation. Really, thanks to the organizer. Thanks to Chantal for organizing the Zoom meeting. And really, I'm a fan of Arbitration Life, so I will continue watching the episodes with great pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ron. It was such a great pleasure to have you on the show. Really
Yes,
was.
and I look forward to see you in person.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Thank you, Juan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hoang, for joining us once again here on Arbitration Life. That indeed was a treat. I think she really helped to really define why we do Arbitration Life in the first place. So thanks for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Juan. And for more Arbitration Life, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Arbitration Life.